He's currently a postdoctoral fellow at the Wits Institute for Social and Economic Research. Here is Dr. Sizwe Mpofu Walsh.
Good afternoon, everyone. And short smooth, Eta smooth, Eta. It's a real pleasure to be here with you all. And today I want to tell you a few stories about what has inspired me in my life, and hope to provide you with some inspiration for your life going forward, particularly around the theme of Techno-X and STEAMY. There's a fascinating saying, and I'll tell you who said it at the end of my talk, which is that learning never exhausts the mind. Learning never exhausts the mind. And I've always been fascinated by those people who have been able to integrate multiple, diverse, and different fields of human learning and potential. Those people who can take mathematics on one side, philosophy on another side, entrepreneurship, and not just do one thing well, but have the capacity to do many different things well. That's always inspired me, and it's always been what I have aspired to become, and I'm still hopefully in the process of trying to become. We can go back to history and think of incredible human beings who have been able to achieve things that many would have thought were impossible. There's a wonderful woman from our own continent who lived in the 5th century called Hypatia. She was not only a brilliant mathematician, but also an astronomer who taught us things about the heavens and the stars. But more than that, she wasn't just smart. She was one of the best teachers of her generation, and so leaders from all over the Mediterranean, Europe, the Middle East, Africa, would flock to sit at her feet and learn from her wisdom as she would expound on all kinds of different subjects, from science to literature. We don't have to go too far back in time. Let's take a wonderful living American person now, my Gemma. Not only is she an astronaut who was the first black woman in space, but she's also built multiple companies and NGOs. And to top it all off, she's a medical doctor, able to integrate multiple intelligences and different ways of seeing the world and achieve fascinating things. We can come home to South Africa, where there are many great geniuses who have lived in our time. Think of someone like Steve Biko. What fascinates me about Biko is just his intellectual brilliance. Not only did someone like Biko study medicine, but he also built amazing political organizations. He was able to understand the society around him. He also contributed to multiple philosophical viewpoints through the Black consciousness philosophy. And this is something many people don't know about him. Towards the end of his life, before he was sadly and tragically killed by the apartheid police, he was also studying law. So he had ambitions to master the medical field and the legal field and create organizations in the world that were changing the society around him. Now, I've always been really inspired by those kinds of people. I admire people who are brilliant at one thing and who can do one thing really well. And there's absolutely nothing wrong. If anything, there's everything right with being able to master or be brilliant at one thing. But how cool is it when someone is brilliant at many different, diverse, and unexpected things? So I would certainly not put myself in the category of those people throughout humanity who have been able to defy logic and become brilliant at many different things. But they inspire me, and that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's trying to figure out new things and master lots of different things at once. So I have a YouTube channel where I interview interesting South Africans every day. I have a PhD from the University of Oxford, where I'm sure many of you will one day... You can clap. Let me try. Oh, now you're listening. Where I'm sure many of you will one day end up studying. I'm currently studying law because I'm interested in that field. I host a primetime show on the SABC where I talk to politicians. I've released a rap album. In fact, may his soul rest in peace, the first person who I rapped with and formed a rap group with was none other than Kiernan, aka Forbes. We were at high school together, and our rap group was called Entity, and I invite you to check it out on YouTube. So there are these amazing people to whom I've always aspired, and learning different things and adapting my mind in different directions has always been something that I've aspired to do. Okay, should I rap now that I said that I rapped? So one of my projects where I tried to do this thing of combining lots of different forms of knowledge was in 2017. I wrote a book called Democracy and Delusion. And the book had a rap album that went with the book. So there was a theme song for every chapter of the book. And the book was really about South Africa, its politics, and why things aren't going the way we all hope they will in South Africa. So I realized you can write a book about something and you can try to change people's minds with your literary brilliance and your capacity for writing and your capacity for articulation. But there's something about art that just hits people different, right? You can write a book, but when that amapiano beat comes in, it just hits you in a different way, right? So I wrote this book, but what I really wanted to say I conveyed in my lyrics. So one of those lyrics, just a little excerpt, was, "Our juxtaposition, it seems, is we're between Biko's dreams and Hollywood screens. And though political freedom was a lifeline, the distance between Alex and Santon is still a lifetime. The crime rate raises my heart rate. This inequality's enough to make your heart break. The disillusionment, the poverty, the heartache, it's got me feeling like we never defeated apartheid." Yeah, just a little bit. And that's and that's the beauty of, and there's a word for this. There's a word for this, what I aspire to, what those great people throughout history who've been able to do many things aspire to. It's called polymath, being a polymath. What does it mean? Poly, from many, like a polygon. Poly, many. Math, Well, what's the origin of the word mathematics? Many other words that have the term math, knowledge. So how do you have many different kinds of knowledge? And how do you use those different kinds of knowledge to create something new in the world, something that people have never seen before, something that inspires and excites your community, your country, humanity? So when we think here of Techno X, and one other thing you learn when you're a rapper is about crowds and how to keep crowds interested. So for example, if I say techno, you say X, techno, techno. If I say techno, you say X, techno, techno. Thank you. Very nice. One of the interesting things about Techno X is it's really calling on you to embrace your inner polymath, your inner genius of integrating and combining multiple different fields. What I love about STEAMY is think of science on the one hand, technology on the other, engineering. And then what I love is they just throw in art. We often don't think of science and mathematics as having a relationship with art. But really, when we start to think about how those different subjects come together, what the conversations are between those different systems of knowledge, that's when you truly begin to imagine ideas that can change the world, that can build brilliant companies, that can get you into the best universities, and that can unlock the potential not just of you, but of humanity itself. So STEAMY is not just some acronym. It's a call to action to all of you, to all of us, to say, is there more that we can achieve than just being good at each of the subjects or each of the different domains? But can we actually find a way of bringing those domains of knowledge together in a way that shifts the ball of humanity forward? So, to end off, knowledge never exhausts the mind. Now, school can be tiring sometimes. I think we can all agree that school can exhaust the mind. No, school can exhaust the mind. But school and knowledge aren't always the same thing. Knowledge and truly learning something new and truly mastering your human capacities and potential, that you can do for as long as you live. And so I would implore all of you here today to embrace the spirit of the great polymaths of our time, who weren't satisfied just with one domain or one skill set or one set of capacities, but who drew from the deep wells of human capacity and human wisdom and were able to unite different knowledges together to take our species, our countries, our planet forward. But if you don't do that, then at least I would advise you to learn how to rap. Thank you.